I want to show you how I cut these pages out. So I used the 2166 December white set. So it has the very large base page. So this is for the Journal XL. And that's what I used for my base pages for the Christmas countdown. So unfortunately, Elle still has the Christmas countdown, so I can't show it to you, but you're going to see it as we go ahead and make it. So I've attached this to my paper, and I'm just going to show you how I run this through. So I just make sure it's lined up to the edge of my mat there, and I'm just going to take my platform. So this is a Bira machine, I think it is. So it actually has just the one plate, like the base, and then you use your cutting mat. And it has dials on this side here, so that right now it's set for die cutting, and if I turn it, it sets for embossing. So the rollers inside adjust depending on what you're doing instead of changing your mats, your plates. So anyway, so I'm just going to run it through. So you see it's not lined up with the end because it doesn't matter as long as it's over top of my die. And I'm just going to run it through, and that end is always difficult to cut because these machines don't like it when they have the cutting pieces straight across. So typically I will put things on an angle, but because this is only a 6-inch machine, I can't put it on an angle. So then when I get to this other end, I can feel it because it gets tight there. So I'm just going to go back and forth. So basically 3 times. And then this is cut out beautifully. So I don't know if you've ever run through one of these big dies before and you've had your end not cut. It's not because of the die. The die is typically fine. It's just because your machine wants your die to be like this, because it has a hard time cutting it straight with the roller. The roller needs to go over it at more of an angle. So I just wanted to kind of show that so that you would get a feel for the best way to cut this big, large die. So now I just get myself organized, get this stuff out of the way. And I'm just going to move this out of my way. Okay. See if I can catch up with some comments. So now I've got my base page here. And of course sorry, just gonna adjust that a tiny bit. Did that work? I need to cut it in half. So I've already cut a few in half because we're gonna play around and do a little bit of experimenting. But I'm going to cut this one in half. So I'm just gonna grab my trimmer here. So these pages are about 9 3/4 total. So I'm going to go at about 4 3/4. Double check. That's what I did before. Yeah, pretty close. And then I just cut that in half. So then those are going to be my pages. And then I bind them all together at the end with my cinch machine. So I don't know how many of you have a cinch, but I've had one for quite a while and I tend to forget about it and I don't use it a lot. So I really wanted to make something using the cinch. So that's why I created this. So I've got a bunch of these pages. Now, I'm going to show you what I did with my original booklet. So I had a really big, what's the word I'm looking for? I was really addicted to Heidi Swapp years and years and years ago when she came out with her Color Shine. So I love this stuff. Now, I am pretty confident that that new Tim Holtz spray that they've come out with is very similar, but there are lots of others on the market right now. So basically it's just a spray and it has some mica in it. So there are other options. I have some other options here to try. So I've got some Delusion shimmer sprays. And then I also do have this Distress Spray Stain, because I also have just some inks that I'm going to play with and show you some different options, because you really can't get the Color Shine, the Heidi Swapp's Color Shine. You might get lucky and find it somewhere in a store, but as far as I know, they're not making it anymore. So you do need to look for some kind of alternative to this. But this is just what I had in my stash when I did this. So the reason that I did this Els had mentioned before, was I didn't have any of the Christmas paper from David. I had to come up with something else. So this is what I decided to do. So I'm going to show you what I did. So I just took these two colors, and because there's mica in them, you have to really give them a good shake and make sure they're mixed up. Hi Astrid and David and Jackie. So, okay, so I got them mixed up. You can usually tell at the bottom if they haven't been mixed properly, and you can always do this to give them a good shake, kind of like they do with nail polish. So all I did was I just sprayed a little bit onto my craft mat here. So no real rhyme or reason. I just kind of, you see that they're touching because I do want them to do a little bit of mixing. And then I just sprayed some water. So I do have a brush handy. So this is just an old brush. It's not a very good quality one because I wasn't sure if the mica would end up kind of sticking to my brush. So I just use this old one, and then I'm just kind of making sure that the water's mixed in with that color. So you can see this is a bit of a green and this is more of a bluey teal. And then you just take your paper and you just dab it in there, and it's going to give you some interesting colors and patterns. And like I said, I did mix it. So that one's the blue. I'm going to put a little bit of green up here. And I just kind of played around. There, get some blue over on top of that green. Like that. So you see that I've used a lot of it. Now I can just spray some more water on it as well. It will make it lighter in color. Or I can just spray some more of this. So I'm just going to set this one aside for now. So that's what I did for my original pages, right? So that's the color of them. And they were all different because, again, this is what I was doing, was just playing around and mixing them. And I typically didn't clean up my mat in between. I just kept adding more. So the mixes ended up all in different areas. Just have a quick look, see if I've missed anything here. The comments go by so fast, it's really hard to keep up with them. So I do apologize if I missed something important. Okay, so these ones I picked up, these Delusions, to try and get as close of a match to the color shine. This one is very yellowy, quite bright. This one is more of the teal, and then this one is quite much more blue. So I did do a little bit of playing around with them to see what worked best. The color-wise, I think they still work fine. This is a whole set, so I don't know if you can even buy these separately. It came in a pack with all three of them. So we're going to give this a try. So again, make sure that you give it a really good shake. And then let's have a look. I'm going to try this. This is called, what is it called? Fresh Lime. There, the color's on the back there. So put a little bit of that on there. And then this one, I think this one we're going to try. Okay, this one is Polished Jade. Whoa, that one's pretty bright. And then I think I'm going to do a little bit more of mixing of these. Let's see. I'm just going to kind of swirl it around a little bit because these are much brighter colors. I think I'm going to add a little bit of blue into here. It might be a little bit too pigmented. So I'll just add a bit more water, see if that will help thin it out a little bit. So I really was just playing with these just to see. So if I'd had these colors, this is what I would have used. So you can see it's nice and yellowy there. And then you can see some blue in there. So it's giving a lot of mix of color. So I think I'm going to leave that. Now, once they are dry, you can go back in and put a little bit more on it if you want. But we're going to do stamping and stenciling and stuff over top. So we really don't need to. So that's a lot left there. So I don't want to waste that. So I'm going to do another one with that. I'm going to try maybe up here where there's, whoops. I'm not very neat and tidy when I do this stuff. Oh. Okay, so that one's good. We'll just leave that one. We'll let that dry. Okay, so that's good. Get rid of that. And then because those colors are so much darker than the original ones, you can see the big difference here, right? Look at that. That's quite a difference. Look, I splattered on it. So I wanted to see if I could find something that was a little bit closer to this. So I'm just going to put these behind me so that I don't splatter on them anymore. And then we're going to switch to another medium. So this time we're going to try these oxides. So we've got Shabby Shutters and Salvage Patina. So Shabby Shutters is a little bit darker, I think, than I would like, but we're going to give it a try. So I'm sure most of you have probably seen this technique. So we're just going to put those down there. But then I'm going to take my spray stain, my brushed pewter. So you can probably use a gold color. I don't have gold. I have, what's the other one that I have? I have the tarnished brass, but I think it would be too much. So I like the way that this brushed pewter was working was really nice. So Femke, you're asking, I'm not sure which one you're asking about, the what has the shimmer. The dilution sprays do have shimmer in them. It's maybe not as heavy as the Color Shine, but once they dry, I think you can see it better. Okay, so you see I've put a little bit of both. I'm going to go ahead and soak that. You can see how the shimmer there. I'm going to get this. I probably should have brought a little bit of water. Okay, so see that's very kind of yellowy green, but I think we're going to be good. So I put them a little bit far away. So let's mix a little bit in there because we want to have a bit of a mix, right? I don't want it all to be like solid color in one area and the other. Okay, so just kind of put it down there, give it a little bit of a push, maybe a little bit more because those ones aren't. So I like how that's blending together there. So let's do that. I'm dragging it a little bit there. So that one is much closer to my original. So let's put that aside. And then we're going to try, what have I got? I've got 2 more cards, so we can try 2 more things. I'm going to need another one of those paper towels, I think. Okay, so now I have a great friend that was able to give me this Shabby Shutters color and then this wintergreen, which is Catherine Pooler. So I haven't used Catherine Pooler before, but she really loves it. And it should give us the same kind of effect. So this is a little bit of a different color, but I think it's actually lighter, although it looks darker there. So we're going to put some of that down. And that's the green. So I'm going to still need some of this Salvage Patina. So put that down. And again, I'm going to add the spray stain, the brush pewter, because it has the mica in it. Okay, and we're just going to tap some of that in. That should be enough, I think. I'm getting it all mixed up. Okay, you can see how the mica kind of sits there. It's kind of neat. So you can see that that color is, although it looked darker, it's not really. It's actually lighter than the previous one. So I like how they're mixing together. So these two look really nice, I think, together. So I'm gonna do something like that. See what happens when I twist it. Oh, so they're quite close together actually. So see, there's not a lot of green, or maybe I just mixed it up a bit too much. Now I'm just using regular cardstock here as well. This is not watercolor paper or any special paper. This is just plain old white cardstock, and it's not even heavy cardstock. So I'm just putting a bit of that. I might let that dry and add a bit more. I feel like that needs a little bit more color. So here I'm going to show you something. So this is Vicky Bouton's, now I forgot what they're called, but they're water brush but they're ink, so they're very, very heavily pigmented. So you wouldn't necessarily want to use this and start coloring something. But if you happen to have some of these in your stash, this mint julep color is kind of nice. So just, oops, there. I'm going to put a bit more of the silver in there as well. Get that in there. Make sure I don't have any color on that. And then give that a mix. Now I put a lot of that silver in there, so I'm going to put a bit more of this. Let's give that a good, there, okay. Because I did put a lot of color on there. Okay, let's see if I've got enough. No, I still want more. Come on. Sorry, just trying to see what the comments say. Okay, so let's put this. This is not gonna, it's gonna blend because it's very wet, but it's okay like that. Looks good. There we go. So that looks very nice. Just gonna add a little bit more water. See how much I can stretch this. So that's not bad. So it's all kind of, once you kind of have done it once, it really does start to blend. So I'm not getting a lot of mix of my color here. So I'm just gonna give that a bit of a wipe there and put a bit more of this Shabby Shutters on there because it's a little bit greener or yellower, more of a contrast anyway. Put a bit more of this on. Whoa, that's probably too much. So I just had a lot of fun doing this. So because I was doing the Christmas countdown, I cut myself 24 sheets of 6x12 paper to run through the machine. And then as I'm running them through, I realized that I didn't need 26 because not only am I cutting them in half, but I'm also doing both sides. So you really only needed 6 sheets. So I had a lot left over, but that's okay. Okay, so that is those. I'm going to put these aside to dry. I have prepped some other ones because they're quite wet. You can see the how it's come through the back. See, all of that dark means that that's soaking right through to the other side. So we'll just set those at the back. Even these ones that I did, the first ones, are still quite wet. So of course, the more water you spray into your ink, the wetter that paper is going to be. So when I did it, I just, I did all my pieces and then I just left it and then came back the next day. So today I did some of these today and I just dried them, some of them, not all of them, but I dried some of them with a heat tool, which you can of course do as well. So here's some of the ones I did earlier. So you can see there's a vast difference in color. So this is the original color underneath, and then I did the spray stain, and then it like soaked right through and actually colored the other side. So that was interesting. And then I've done a bit of prep work, just a little bit more of the next step, which is to stencil. So once I had all of my papers and they were all dry, then I grabbed the stencils. So the new December Romance collection comes with 4 stencils. You see them, right? So this is my favorite. I love a good quatrefoil. It's actually part of my brand image, so I love that. So it's my favorite. These other ones are fantastic though too, and you can see that I've used them. And I, especially when I was doing my first book, I made sure that I used everything in the collection, and it was a lot of fun. Whoops, so I'm just going to set these aside so that they're out of my way. Okay, so now I grabbed some other stamps. So I have a bunch of Close to My Heart. So again, I know you can match these up with other inks, and for sure you could put in this Shabby Shutters or the Salvage Patina. But these are oxides, so they take longer, and I only have oxides of those. So I'm just going to go ahead and use these. So mostly I'm going to use these two colors. So it's bluey green and then a light green. And then I just took my my blending brushes, and then I just started playing with them. So I didn't really have a really set out plan. I was just playing. So I just grabbed the stencil and I just started to add some of the ink. So one thing that I did try and do was not go right to the edge of the stencil and not fill it completely, at least not completely at the same weight. So depending on what kind of pressure you're using, you're going to get lighter and darker. So you can see I'm putting more pressure for sure down at this bottom corner where it was whiter and there wasn't as much of the previous ink, and then a little bit lighter up above. So see, it doesn't take an awful lot and it gives you a really nice image. And then I just moved it over and matched it up. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then I think I'll probably do the other color. And that was, I think, one of the big things that made this look so nice was that I mixed all these colors and I just kept kind of changing colors. Oops, that one's moving. Even when I was stamping. So put a little bit more dark up there. There, so you can see it's nice and light down here. So that just gives me a nice background. This stencil is really good for that. So here's one, see? I did the blue there. So let's add some of this green to it now. Just find the right spot there to line up. There we go. We'll add some green. So I don't think I'm going to go very heavy with this one. I'm going to keep it pretty subtle, because I do want to do the stamping and I don't want it to be too busy. I want it to be a nice background. So this one I took the snowflakes and I just went over the whole thing with just the blue. So that one is almost all blue except for a little bit of splatter. And then this one I took one of the Mandelas, snowflakes, whatever you want to call it. I put it in the middle, and I had done this previously, and then you can put some of your die cuts in the middle. It looks really good. Sorry, I just need a bit of a drink. I think spending 6 hours in the hospital emergency room last night affected my voice. Sorry. Okay. So what else? And then this one, I put this other one, snowflake. I put 2 of them on there. So let's do, I did one of these already. That one. So again, you don't want to necessarily do the whole thing. So with this one, because it has these straight lines, there's nothing wrong with the straight lines. I just wanted to try and avoid that straight line being right at the top or right at the bottom. Mostly at the bottom, because the top is going to be a little bit covered up. But you just want to kind of pay attention to where you're laying it down. And so this one, I think I'll start with a bit of green. We'll start with those trees at the bottom, maybe. That line will be covered up, so that's okay. And we'll just put a little bit in here. And I'm going to go ahead and go over to my blue. Let's see. I like that. I like how it's half blue and half green. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to move it over to this side. So it was just me playing and experimenting. I'll put the blue at the bottom this time and some of the green at the top. There. That looks really cool. I like that. You see that? Yeah, I really like that. So you've got the green on opposite corners and then the blue, and the blue almost kind of goes right through because of the way that I did it. So that is the stenciling. So I think I've got enough there to kind of work with. So I'm still going to be using these inks. That's what I'm going to use for my stamping as well. So I can set aside the stencils. Okay. Hopefully there wasn't any like questions that I missed. See, Kat says, put those stencils on my wish list. Yes, I really like these stencils. They're very good. So next I'm going to do the stamping. So I'm just going to grab stamps. So I used all of the stamps, or sorry, I used these stamps from the collection. This one is after. Okay, so the winter flowers and the sweater time. So the sweater time has the 2 stamps, and then the winter flowers has that amazing, amazing floral with the music notes in the background. Definitely my favorite, but these other ones are pretty cool. So what I did next was I just kind of looked at what I had done with the stenciling. So of course these ones have that very similar, this sweater one. So I'm not going to do that on top of it, but I don't like the fact that that has lines. So I think I'm going to use this one. So this one gave a really nice effect. What would you call this? Argyle, I think. It looks really cool when you're stamping it. And I might stamp it with the darker color. Let's give it a try with this first and see how it looks. So especially here where I've done the stenciling just in these 2 parts of it, I'm going to do my stamping in the opposite parts of it. Does that make sense? So that I'm not trying to have too many images competing all at the same time. I'm just going to grab a scrap of paper because I'm definitely going to be stamping off of this. So I'm just going to put this like about there. There. So that actually looks really nice with the blue. And then it kind of like fades out, right? So it's just perfect for this kind of thing. I think I will go the same way. And then I'm going to go down a bit. So let me just ink it all up just in case. Margaret, yes, everything's fine. My mother had a urinary tract infection, so it worked out fine. She's got medication now. So that one, so that's it. Like I didn't do any more. I just basically used 1 stamp. So this one, we could definitely use a different stamp, I think, on that one. So I think I'm going to go with the green because I stenciled that one in blue. And I think I'm going to try this one. I think I'm going to try this. So this is just gorgeous, this stamp. David really hit it out of the park with this collection. It's amazing. So it's huge. This is a massive block. Okay, so I think even though that image is right in the middle, I'm going to go ahead and just stamp that directly over top of it. Thank you, Margaret. There. So that's going to lighten up a little bit as it dries. It might be a little bit too busy to have both of these on here, but it's just about having some fun. So I'm just going to kind of line that up so it looks like it's continuous. And then if you find that it's too busy, like I said, that will lighten up a bit as it dries. Then you just put whatever you're going to put on top of it so that you don't see as much of the busyness. But again, that would actually probably still look really pretty with a die cut in the middle, because then you're going to see just this kind of outside. Because I know I did one of the pages, I put the actual die cut that kind of matches it. I'll just show you. This icy doily, if you put that on there, it kind of mostly covers it up. But that would be cool. Or you could even just do a snow globe on it like that. That would be really cool too. And then you just see kind of parts of it around. It looks really neat. You don't mask the doily. I probably would. If I'm doing something like that, I probably would. Okay, so let me just, I'm going to just stamp that off of there. Okay, so there we've got two that are done. And this one, So what do we want to do with this one? I think again with this one, we want that like Harlequin. Somebody said Harlequin. That's right. So here, we're going to do something different. I'm going to take my 2 colors and I'm going to use them both. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of go like this and then like this. And just kind of mix it in. You can't hardly even see the color on there. And then we're going to go up here. Where do we want to go? Right there. There we go. There, so again, that'll change up a little bit as it dries. Let's do that again. I'm just gonna stamp a couple of the inks, and then we're gonna go right there. So you can see a little bit there, how it's more blue there, and then the green is there. Yeah. Yeah. So that one's a little bit busy. It's not too bad. Okay. This one, okay, I'm going to use the same one again, and I'm just going to use the blue, but again, I've got a stencil here and here, so I'm going to stamp there, and I'm going to stamp there, like that. And see, my stamp wasn't even really perfect, but that's okay, because that's part of it, I think, is that it fades out. Now, these two, they seem to work the best with this flower. So we're going to stamp that flower on here. Grab this giant block. Let's see what we want to do. So that one, do I want to use blue on both of them? I think we're going to use blue on both of them. Okay. So I'm just gonna kind of wipe some of that off so there's not like a solid edge. There, see if that works. And we're gonna go, I want to go off the edge. I don't want to go centered. I want to go off center. Vicky, it took a long time to make the book. But because I was kind of doing it as I went, it would be a lot faster now that I know what I'm doing, because like I said, you do like all of your pages, you do all of the inking, the wet inking first, and then you do the stenciling all at once, and then you do all your stamping at once. So that goes a little bit faster. Now, because I did every single page different for the die cuts as well, that part took the longest. So there. So this one, though, that's a little strong because of that coming through on the back. So that's where the lighter colors do tend to show off the stamps a little bit better. I think we're going to do the green on this one. Let's do the green, see how that shows up. And we're just going to put it in the middle. But yes, it did take a long time to make the book. But like I said, if you kind of had a plan, or if you were going to put photos and not as much of the die cuts, it would be faster. But it was a lot of fun, and because I was experimenting with everything and making sure that I used everything, it was pretty fun and cool. Oh, Sue's saying copper splatters look nice on pages with lime green. That's cool. There. So that shows up really nice on there. And then I think oh, I used green. I almost made a mistake. Okay, so I'm just gonna do this. So the flower's in the middle, and then it just kind of looks like it continues, but it's not as bold with the flower. So it just looks like the music continues. I mean, you can see that there is a flower, but there, I like that. Okay. Which one is which now? Okay, that's the green one. Okay, so I'm just going to give these a quick clean. You do not like to put them away when they're inky. That's very wet. And that one, last one. Oh, now one thing that I didn't show you, which I did on the original one, was that there is one more stamp set. Somewhere in my file. There it is. So this one. So I'm pretty sure that I used some of these on some of the backgrounds, right? So you can do that as well. I definitely use them as die cuts and put them and decorated my pages with them. But you can also use them for your, to decorate your pages. Okay, so now I'm just going to do one for today, because otherwise it will take me too long. So I pre-cut out the tree. So the tree is also from the 2166 December white. So I cut out the base and then I cut out the overlay. So I did it in white and I did it in green. So my cardstock is two-toned, so it's lighter on one side and darker on the other. So I cut it, this piece, with the lighter. So I have this little fluffy stuff, which is really cool. So I'm just going to see if I can zoom in my camera a bit so that you can see this better. Is it going to let me? I thought I was able to do it before. It is not letting me do that. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Okay. So I'm going to give this a try and hopefully you can see this. So just to prep this tree, I did it in both. So you can see this fluffy stuff is really quite dimensional. But I didn't really care for it on the white and I put a lot on. So I decided to cut it out in the similar color, and then I just put in a lot less on it so that it looks a little bit more realistic. Okay, so all you do, if you haven't used this before, it's pretty cool, is you just put a little bit of this. See if I can get it to start coming out. There, okay. And so not very thick, but I'm like dabbing it because I want it to have that texture. I mean, it bubbles up kind of differently, I think, anyway. You'll see when I start to do it. But you don't want it to be too heavy, or it will get really thick. And I haven't experimented with how long it's good for if it starts to dry out. But the other thing is if you find that you put some on and you don't have enough, you can just keep going and put it on top, and then it will still continue to puff up. Because I did that before. I used it for foam on a mug of beer and it worked really well. And I just kind of layered it. I did it 2 or 3 times until I got it to kind of what I liked. Okay, so hopefully that top bit's not drying because it isn't very thick. I'm just trying to be quick. Okay, let's just go with that. That lid on there. Okay, and I'm gonna get my trusty heat emboss thing. Okay, we're gonna, yeah, we'll try it there. Here, we'll just clip that. There we go. Okay. Okay, so now hopefully you can see as this puffs up. Once it starts to get warm, there it goes. Can you see that? Hopefully you can see it puffing up. It's really cool. I don't think I put it enough there. Okay, I'm just gonna put a little bit more because I think I got a little bit thin there and I was trying to rush. So I'm just gonna put a little bit more down here. One. Whoops. Maybe a bit too much. But I'm one of the ones that hasn't tried decorating the tree like this yet with any kind of snow. Do I need any more? I feel like that looks funny up there. Okay, that's good. Okay, so put a little bit there. Ooh, look at that popping up. This is just so much fun to watch. That's a spot. So I think you can leave it for a while. I feel like that little bit just puffed up more and I didn't put any more on. Put a spot there. There we go. Okay. Now it's stuck because I did it while it was on there. There we go. Okay, now I could put a little brown piece on there, but I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm just going to attach this one down there, and we'll grab it right there, I think. Hang on. Yes, this puffy stuff is pretty cool. It's definitely worth trying out. You can get it in different colors. I have like an off-white, I don't know, creamy color as well, which I don't think I've actually used yet. Okay, whoops. So if you haven't seen, Els did a really good demo of how you can make the tree smaller. Really simple, actually. I did it myself, and I feel like I did it a much more difficult way. All she did was just trim it off, and I can't honestly remember how I did it. I feel like I ran it through the die cut machine again. Okay, and that goes down pretty easily. That one there was a little bit off, but everything else kind of, whoops, I think I moved that too much. It's like squishy now. It's cool. Oh, okay. Sue's saying that you can actually color the fluffy stuff, so that's cool. Or you can burn it a bit to make it different color. Okay, so actually I really like that now, so that's pretty cool. How are we doing for time? Okay, so I just want to make sure that I get through so you can see how to assemble these. So we'll just pick one here. We'll just pick one. Doesn't matter. Okay, so one thing that I did find was that tree goes quite full on the page. So because I'm binding this with my cinch, I want to make sure that it's going to be strong enough. So I cut these pieces to put on the top, right? So all I did was I cut a 6-inch wide piece of paper, and then I used my decal edge cutter. So these are cut at 1 1/4 inches thick. Ooh, loud. So all I did was, this edge of course is not straight or even, but 1 1/4 inch, and then I just kind of lined it up, and then I moved it around so that they're not all identical. I didn't put them all at the top or all at the bottom. I just moved them around. Now, if you don't have this decal edge cutter, that's okay, because you can just cut it with your die, which I need to find. Sorry. So all you do is you cut a strip. So I would suggest cutting it at about 1 3/4. It doesn't have to be quite that big. And then you put your die on here on the strip like that, run it through your machine, and then you turn it on the other side and run it through your machine again. And then you get that nice edge that's going to look really nice on your page, right? Because it's the similar kind of design. And that's why the decal edge looks good too. The decal edge is just faster. So that's why I did that. Really, that's the really only reason I did it, was because it was faster. So I'm just going to quickly grab my light brown. And I did ink distress all of the pieces. So all of my pages I did, and then the top piece. There, so get that, and then you take your top piece and you distress that. Oh, I should show you, I did score it just to make it easier to fold it. So just grab your score board. And then where's one? There we go. So this one has a single line. So if you have a single line one, it's actually easier. And I want it to fold that way. So I want my dark side up. And just go like this. So the reason, it doesn't matter that it's not exactly straight. I'll show you why. You want to make sure that you don't cut it the same size as your page, because you want to be able to trim it up and make it match. So that's what I did. So I just had a bunch of those done. Okay. And then I did ink the fold as well on both sides. Now, depending on how you're decorating your page, depends on whether or not you're going to attach this first or second. So I am going to want the tree, because it's so tall, I'm going to want my tree to sit on top of that, right? Now, the other thing I need to make sure is I did not cut all of these all at once. So a little bit of them, they're a little bit different sizes, including that one that I just did. So I want to make sure that they're all going to be the same. So I'm not going to push this down onto the top, right? I want this to be the same size. So all I did was I took a piece of double-sided adhesive and I ran it along the edge like that. I just use my fingers. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to put it on here. So I'm going to use this to line it up, I think. Okay, so then I can line it up there. Okay. Did I put it on the right one? Yes. So the reason that I didn't trim this down smaller was because now I'm going to trim it to match my page, right? I want to keep it, and of course my tape went over, so now I can't see. There. So now I can go to the back and I can just do that. So I only cut up to the fold though, which is, it's backwards now. Right, so then once I've cut up to the fold, then I can cut this other side by keeping this up, and then it's going to match. Does that make sense? Now, of course, you don't have to do that, but I think it looks nicer when it lines up like that. Now, I would not stick this down until I know what's going on the back, but obviously mine's going to stick because my adhesive is there. Okay, so now I can put my tree on here. So let's just get some adhesive on there. Ooh, get my dries clear on there. Whoops. Okay. Put that here. And then I already cut some sentiments and my little label. So I think Els did mention, but this little decorative piece is actually the die for this little December to Remember. So from the, typo, oh, big typo there. It should be, I think, CS 368, December Romance. So from that stamp, that is the die that matches it, and it cuts this fun little shape. So it's pretty cool. It's not symmetrical, I don't think. But that's what I use to add all of my numbers to my pages. So you can use any shape. But I thought it was kind of neat, and it's very decorative. Now, I did not stick them down until I put my numbers on. I have not cut out numbers yet. So I'm just going to quickly move some of this stuff out of the way. Kind of jumping around. And I'm just going to quickly cut out a couple of numbers. Doesn't matter what number I use. Okay. So I just have this teeny tiny piece of glitter paper. I do have more, but you don't need a big piece to cut out these letters. Of course, tape never sticks very well to glitter, so I gotta put some muscle into it. So get that up there. And I never put my plate on the whole thing because it just takes way too long. So I just put it on this little bit and then I run it through. I'm gonna run it back just to make sure. Okay. Then I have my numbers. Come on, come out, come out, come out. There we go. Okay, so now I can stick my numbers on here, and with mine, I alternated. I put my one on first. So I put one on this side, one on this side, one on this side, one on this side. Just so that it would add some interest as you're flipping through. Not like you're flipping it constantly, but I just thought it would be fun to do that. I'm not putting this in the middle because I'm going to have it hanging over the edge of the page. So I have to trim it off. Oops. So there. So like I said, so I would put my number on once I knew which side I was putting it on. And then I stick it down. Like that. And then I can trim that off. How are we doing? We're almost done. We're almost out of time. So it's working out okay, I think. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. I still haven't shown you the cinch, so I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, so then the other thing, whoops, I would do here is put the sentiment on, which is right here. So you just pick one. Yeah. But I actually used foam tape for some of them, not all of them, but some of them I actually used, oh my, little tiny foam bits just to give it a little bit of dimension. And then I like it kind of overlapping the tree a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a little bit of the cinch. I can't really do a whole demo on this because really you need to have all of your pages done first. Okay, so this is my cinch, and what I didn't do was measure this. So like this is a whole kind of almost a class on its own. So if you haven't seen the cinch, this is what it does. So I did a test paper. That's how I determined how big my, get it in there, how big this piece should be, was I did a test, and then I determined that that's how big I needed it to be. So that's why I made it 1 1/4. Now, when I go in here, I want to make sure that my holes are going to line up nicely. So see, I don't want those holes. So I want to take out the last 3. Is that right? So I'm going to pull those out. But then that's the edge of the paper. So I need to actually go the other way. So I'm going to take out 4 and I'm going to move. Oh my. there. Never done that before. That's new. Right? So when that's in all the way, that's your guide there. Can you see that little piece? That's your guide. So I want to just move it a tiny bit so that I'm better in line. So now I'm going to just punch the other side of the paper. So it was a little bit of trial and error just to figure it out. So now if I just use those holes and I line it up with the end, is it centered? See, that looks good. Now, if you don't have a cinch, so now I would set this up and then do all of my pages all together, and then I know that they're all identical and that it's going to sit nicely, right? So now that's punched. Okay. And then you take your cinch and you get your coil, which I didn't grab one of my coils, but you put your coil on here and then you put all your pages on. Now, when I made this book, I made a whole cover and everything. So again, that's a whole different thing, which I'm happy to do some sort of demo or class on that at some point. There's lots of information out there about cinch. You can also just do a couple of rings and just make it a little flip book with the rings, or I think Els is going to try and actually do the same idea and put it in a journal. So you could just not cut your pages in half and just do the same idea in a journal. Excuse me. And you would get the same thing. So hopefully I didn't miss any big questions, but that's it. That's how I did it. And that's how one page turns out. So I hope everybody really enjoyed that. And yeah, if you do have a cinch, man, pull it out, try it out. You can get the coils still out there. They're still available. Some of your local craft stores might have them, and if not, I'm sure they can order them in. But yeah, it's a great little tool and it's fun. And then the little stand I made, you can stand that up and you can just flip the pages for each day. So anyway, thanks a lot. I am going to say goodbye now. Here, how about I try and flip it around and say goodbye. See if I can get that to work. Oh, look, I did. There we go. Okay, so anyway, have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.